As you know, there are Americans who are being evicted from their homes. They can't pay the rent. Many Americans are waiting in food lines for the first time in their lives. Can you look them in the eye, Madam Speaker, and explain why you don't want to accept the president's latest stimulus offer?
Well, because, thank you very much, Wolf, and I hope you'll ask the same question of the Republicans about why they don't really want to meet the needs of the American people. But let me say to those people, because all of my colleagues, we represent these people. I have for over 30 years represented my constituents. I know what their needs are. I listen to them, and their needs are not addressed in the president's proposal. So when you say to me, why don't you accept theirs, why don't they accept ours?
Even members of your own caucus, Madam Speaker, want to accept this deal, $1.8 trillion. Congressman Ro Khanna, for example. But let me just quote Ro Khanna, a man you know well. I assume you admire him. He's a Democrat. And he just said this. He said, people in need can't wait until February. $1.8 trillion is significant and more than twice the Obama stimulus. Make a deal. Put the ball in McConnell court. So what do you say to Ro Khanna?
What I say to you is, I don't know why you're always an apologist, and many of your colleagues apologists for the Republican position. Ro Khanna, that's nice. That isn't what we're going to do, and nobody's waiting till February. I want this very much now, because people need help now. But it's no use giving them a false thing just because the president wants to put a check with his name on it in the mail, that we should not be doing all we can to help people pay the rent, put food on the table, to enhance benefits, that they don't lose their jobs if they're state and local, we're talking about the consequences of a pandemic.
Why not work out a deal with him, and don't let the perfect, as they say here in Washington, be the enemy of the good?
Well, I will not let the wrong be the enemy of the right.
What's wrong with $1.8 trillion?
Well, you know what? Do you have any idea what the difference is between the spending that they have in their bill and that we have in our bill? Do you realize that they have come back and said all these things for child tax credits and earned income tax credits, or helping people who have lost their jobs, are eliminated in their bill? Do you realize they pay no respect to the fact that child care is very important for people whose children cannot go to school because they're doing remote learning, and yet they minimize the need for child care, which is the threshold with which people, mothers and fathers, can go to work if they have that.
You wrote a letter to House Democrats and you said this. Let me read a line from the letter you wrote. The president only wants his name on a check to go out before Election Day and for the market to go up. Is that what this is all about? Not allow the president to take credit if there's a deal that will help millions of Americans right now?
He's not that important. But let me say this. With all due respect, and you know we've known each other a long time, you really don't know what you're talking about. If the plural of anecdote is not data. Yes, there's some people who said this or that. Overwhelmingly, my caucus wants what is right for the American people. Overwhelmingly, our chairman who wrote the bill, read their statements. They all put out their own statements when they saw what the White House was proposing. So do a service to the issue and have some level of respect for the people who have worked on these issues, written the bill to begin with. But again, you've been on a jag defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills, and I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
All right, Madam Speaker, these are incredibly difficult times right now, and we'll leave it on that note. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll leave it on the vote that you are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you. But I feel confident about it, and I feel confident about my colleagues, and I feel confidence in my chairs.
And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and
who are having
represent
trouble,
them. And we represent them.
Getting
and
by
we represent
these
them.
long food
and
lines
we
that we're seeing.
Them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
Them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we say,
we know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say.
It is nowhere near perfect.
Madam Speaker.
Always the case, but we're not even close to the good.
All right, let's see what happens, because every day is critically important. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Have you fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
The fact is that when it comes to relief for the American people, Nancy Pelosi is absolutely right to not capitulate to the White House the second they put forward whatever excuse they can cook up and then call it a relief bill. And the reason is that the Republican Party is clearly not operating in good faith. Trump and Republicans already refused to pass a relief bill last week and only reversed their position when they got bad press as a result of it. And beyond that, when stimulus talks stalled, there was a sell-off in the market. And if you know anything about Donald Trump, it's that while he couldn't care less about the American people, he will bend over backwards for the market. So between that bad press and the tanking stock market, Trump did what he always does. He thought about what would benefit him personally, and he acted accordingly. In reality, if Trump wanted to give the American people relief, he would have encouraged Mitch McConnell to do it at any point over the literal months that the Democrats' HEROES Act has been languishing on McConnell's desk. But he didn't care. He just reacted to whatever news was right in front of him and took whatever steps he needed to help himself overcome this short-term crisis. It is about him, not about you. Beyond that, let's be honest here. The only reason that Trump even wants this bill now is because he wants to send another check with his name on it. He wants a cheap victory, one that, even though Americans would be paying through our own tax dollars, he gets to claim the credit for, just like he ensured that he could bizarrely sign the memo line on the last round of stimulus checks. Just like he's pushing for $200 prescription cards to get mailed out to seniors to bribe them for their votes. This has zero to do with delivering relief and everything to do with Trump trying to help himself in the election. The simple fact is that we know that Trump is going to turn around and claim this as a win if any bill is passed. So Pelosi is right to hold out for a bill that actually addresses the problems we're facing and actually delivers adequate relief to the American people. This isn't about passing a bill for the sake of passing a bill, and it certainly isn't about passing a bill so that Trump can wield it around like a trophy for himself. It's about helping Americans. The Democrats' proposal does that, the Republicans doesn't. Here's the thing, if we are going to pass trillions of dollars in a bill, it needs to be good. A bill just being large isn't enough. It's what's in it that matters. And the fact is that the White House bill doesn't include child tax credits, it falls short on allocating funding to cities and states, it doesn't reinstate the $600 per week in supplemental unemployment benefits, and most importantly, it doesn't adequately fund addressing the virus, with no national plan for testing and contact tracing. The White House simply tried to put forward a bare minimum bill that they figured they could get away with, and what's worse, one that does nothing to actually fix the root of this problem, which is the pandemic. So the virus will continue to spread uninhibited, and we will undoubtedly need more relief in the future because Trump and his party cannot bring themselves to acknowledge why this is all happening 9 months into the outbreak. This is all about band-aids and winning the news cycle while employing the same denialism that got us into this mess in the first place. So I would say this. Good on Pelosi for recognizing that. Good on her for not caving to Trump offering whatever tepid bill he could put forward just so that he could give himself a political victory. And good on her for standing up to Wolf Blitzer and the rest of the media being played by this White House, which knows that all it has to do is put forward something and the press will fall over itself, suggesting that Republicans are acting in good faith and that we should somehow consider ourselves lucky that they deign to offer anything. That's not how it should work. It's clear which bill Americans deserve, and if Republicans want to put forward something inadequate to hand themselves a PR victory, that's on them. But we should be fighting for what we need instead of settling for something that clearly falls short. If you like this video, please check out my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deep dive into the week's most important stories and interview major players in politics, including Kamala Harris, Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Eric Swalwell, Mary Trump, Al Franken, Cory Booker, and many, many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.